a place where you can enhance your lessons absorption by 26%, and that also improves your sleep by 9.4%. I can hear your thoughts. You're probably thinking these numbers are way too specific, Sammy. Of course, they are very specific because these numbers came from a Harvard University study, which was called CogFX. And they have analyzed all the effect that a green, healthy building have on the behavior and well-being of the users. And this study goes even deeper, but I just brought some numbers to get your mind going. I will teach you how to get to this level of health and sustainability in your spaces right here in this webinar. So let me get started here and finally present myself to you. I am Sammy Mira, your presenter today. I graduated with a BR from Florida Atlantic University. Right after my graduation, I knew I wanted to know more about sustainable architecture. So my first move was to get my LEED AP credentials. And I have spent every year of my career working in the construction field and enhancing my knowledge in sustainability. The first half of my career, I was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where for many years I worked at a firm called Harvard Jolley. Harvard Jolley is a well-established architectural firm with a very diverse portfolio. I worked in many educational and some healthcare projects. Many of them actually got LEED certified. Today, I am a partner at uGreen, where we offer services such as sustainable consultancy for projects interested in efficiency and sustainability. And we also have a learning platform where we share our knowledge in sustainable architecture with other professionals in the construction field. So we're constantly sharing a lot of our contents on our social medias. Because of this, we have a lot of exposure to projects and people in the construction field, and we have a very good picture of the scenario that we're working with. And let me tell you, sometimes it does not look very good. Many people don't know how much a well-designed space can be helpful to their health and to their well-being. It is hard to get some of the objections out of the way. And because of this, we have seen that our biggest challenge is to educate people about the benefits and the investments that they are making in themselves, in their health, when they are working with sustainability. The majority of the professionals working in the construction field has no clue that these strategies are good practice. So think with me. Why take so much care of your health with exercises, spending on good food, if you don't take this home, and literally home? You eat well, you exercise, you have your plans, and maybe you even meditate. But what happens with all of this if you go to work inside of a sick building? Or why if your shelter, your home, it's unfit for the lifestyle you actually want to have because your house does not reflect the health that you are trying to bring in by eating well, by exercising, by meditating, by taking care of your body. But I will show you that this is not difficult to change, but you need to change your mind. And the great advantage of creating healthy projects is that you will need to make this only once, probably, to each client, of course, but you will act only once, and then it's just maintenance and quick updates. Your healthy design will stay with the people for all their lives if they wish. people are going to enjoy this space for a very long time. And if you are a newbie to the name sick building syndrome, let me tell you some of the effects that this syndrome can have on your health. And some of these effects are the development of allergies, chronic headaches, difficult breathing, irritation in your throat or in your eyes, that burning eye sensation. Some people experience itching of the skin, and in the worst case scenario, it can also cause cancer. So this is a very serious matter, and we all should be aware of it, but we still have a lot of this around the world. And I would like you to put here on the chat box, right here on the side, what is the percentage of sick buildings in the world today? What do you think? 10%, 20%, 30, 50, up to 90%. Please tell me here right on the side, what is the percentage of sick buildings today around the globe? Okay, I'm waiting a little bit here. Some of you are already putting down the right answer. Some of you are very, very pessimist. I can see that. All right. So let me tell you the answer. And the answer is 30%. And this percentage reflects buildings of all types. Small buildings, large buildings, luxurious buildings, very, very simple buildings. It doesn't matter if you have an ocean view or not an ocean view. This syndrome doesn't pick sides. And this is very much like the COVID-19. It doesn't pick sides. Here in Brazil, we actually had a very famous politician that died from Legionella. He was the Minister of Communications at that time, and he died in 1998. So as you can see, we have here two ways to approach this. One way is to make what is worse better, and to make what is good even better. So we have an opportunity to not let people get sick in your building, but we also have an opportunity to enhance their health while working with architecture and sustainability to promote this enhancement in their lives. So we have things and we have a lot of work that we can do in our projects to make this happen. So you need to see yourself healing these spaces and improving these spaces. So let's go back to that study that I mentioned from Harvard University called the COG-FX. And this study analyzes the impact of green buildings on cognitive functions. The way you think, the way you judge things, the way you memorize things, your perception of things, all this can be affected by the environment that you are inserted in. So let's see some numbers here. And the first number that I'm gonna throw at you is that your mental performance can be enhanced by 26%. So think if you were designing for a space where people are taking tests inside of this space, and they need this performance. They need to think clearly, they need to act fast, and you can control this. And you can also control the quality of their sleep. And you have the power to improve an average of 6.4% the quality of their sleep. So one thing I want you to understand is that the majority of the strategies that I'm going to show you right now can be done by you. You can work on these strategies and make a difference in your projects. So now that I have given you all this context, I would like you to answer for me here on the chat box if you are ready to go over these strategies with me. Please say yes on the chat box. Yes, everybody really wants to go to the content. Let's go, Sammy. Yes. And the first one that we will talk about here is respiratory health. And we chose to talk about this one first because it's the one that everybody wants to know. And this could be done by assuring that the spaces will have a high level of air quality. And we do that by bringing ventilation to these spaces. Contamination can be minimized 60% if you get ventilation right. And how do you do that? You have to analyze your bioclimatic zone, and you have to find in your area what is the code for the minimum openings and how you get this cross ventilation going. In some spaces, you are not going to be able to have natural ventilation, which to me is the best. But sometimes you cannot play with that. And if you are not allowed or you are not able to get natural ventilation going in your project, then you need to be very careful with the systems that you choose and that this system will attend the amount of ventilation needed for the space you created, and also the type of filters that you'll be using in your systems. One thing it's very important to know is that today you can gather the data from your region and you can simulate this with a software. So it's very easy for you. You can do that. The second point we're talking about here under respiratory health is organization and cleanliness of the spaces. And one way to maintain a space clean, it's not bringing all the dirt in. Oh, that did sound like very genius of me, right? But a lot of people do not know how to create these spaces so as you walk into a building, you will leave the dust out. So in a commercial building, you can use mats, door mats that are between 9 and 10 feet long, and they will take care of that first walk that you go in, and then it will clean your shoes, and a lot of this will be left out. So this dust will not compromise the air quality, and it will not get inside the filters as easy. And if this refers to an individual house, then you will have to create pathways where the owner of this house will be able to walk and also will be cleaning his shoes along the way until he gets to his doormat, and his doormat will be smaller, so he needs to have different approaches here so that he can create the same effect that we will have in a commercial building when you have that very long mat. And still under organization and cleanliness, we must say that you have to create spaces where the people can use for storage, and it can be easily accessible, and the person can clean every once in a while, so this space is not there gathering dust all the time and actually not serving the purpose of organization. It's rather serving the purpose of dumping, and we don't want that. We want a space that invites organization and cleanliness. Another way to promote respiratory health is avoiding cross-contamination in between the spaces. Know where your air intakes are, that they are not near any garages or exhausts, like kitchen exhausts, etc. All this needs to be very careful, and you need to look into have the spaces independently receiving this mechanical ventilation. So like I said, we don't create this cross-contamination. Imagine if you are in one room and you start sneezing and coughing and it gets to the next room. This is very important when we talk about this virus. The control of the pandemic is to isolate the spaces and not be able to transmit this virus through the air. And if you have this problem in your building where you don't have control over this cross-contamination of these spaces, that you cannot afford to have one sick person in your building because this person will contaminate everyone. So you see how serious this is for you to be careful with how you design the circulation of air in your spaces, and also the type of filter that you will have. When we talk about the control of diseases and the control, a high level of control in the air quality, we're talking about filters MERV 13, MERV 13, or perhaps higher. Also, we need to control the humidity in the spaces. This also needs to be taken into consideration because when you have a climate that it's cold and dry, you have a space that it's more likely to transmit a virus. And not just that, but when your space is too dry, it can cause different allergies to be triggered too, and you will have other respiratory problems. And respiratory problems lower your immune system, and having your immune system down, you are exposed. And just to close a little bit, when we're talking about organization and cleanliness, I know that this is something that we've been talking about a lot now. It's something that before we used to stress out on our webinar, but today we don't have anymore because people are all the time thinking about being clean and keeping the spaces clean so they are safer. When you talk about products, cleaning products, make sure that you can use sustainable cleaning products. You have many sustainable cleaning products that are very effective on killing the virus. Another way to control the air quality is controlling the amount of VOCs that you have in the air, the volatile organic compounds. And these are organic chemicals that have a very high vapor pressure at room temperature. So these compounds, they can get into the air and they can also cause cancer, they can cause allergies, they can make you feel sick, have headaches, and everything because of that typical smell of wet paint or that smell of new furniture. The smell that you like so much, that is when you walk into your new car. All those smells, they are actually not supposed to give you any good feelings because they are the VOCs. So hopefully you will be able to encounter every material or every furniture that does not have VOCs. And today the market is very much aware of this problem and this danger that the VOCs can cause to your respiratory system. So a lot of the glues, the adhesives, the paints, all of this already are available with low or no VOCs. Also furniture. You have to be very careful, especially with the wood fiber furniture that we use a lot in built-ins. So we have to be very careful with that. In case you are not able to find something with no VOCs or with low VOCs, you will have to perform a flush out of these spaces. And this flush out needs to be measured. You can contract a company that can work with this, but it's very important that before you move your clients into this space, you have this space flushed out and clean so they don't have any contaminants when they walk in. And the information that you need from different products, you need to ask your supplier. And this is another battle that I want you to join me, but it's basically what I want is for you to ask your supplier for information, to ask industry to be more transparent and to bring the information that we need so we can choose better products to the spaces that we are designing. And to help with the filtration of the VOCs, you can use plants. Many studies now have put together information about the benefits of having different plants indoors. And why is that? They noticed that the level of VOCs outside is often 10 times lower than the VOCs that are concentrated indoors. And one of the reasons that the study pointed was the presence of plants, the presence of greenery. And here is a list of the plants that are most effective to clean indoor air. So the first one is the English ivy. Then we have the Boston fern, the peace lily, the spider plant, which is very small too, you can have that, the dwarf date palm, the Gerbera daisy. These 6 plants are very effective into cleaning the air and limiting the amount of VOCs in the air. And of course, having a plant inside helps your cognitive system too, because looking at the green also works magic in your brain, and you will have a better life quality if you use biophilic design approach. So here ends item number 1, which was the respiratory health. And now we move to number 2. And number 2 is thermal health. And thermal health has to do with the amount of energy that you are spending with your AC, and also the amount of energy that the people that are in your designed space are spending. And why am I saying that? I'm saying this because in a place where you're not comfortable with the temperature, you don't produce as well. So you actually lose production, lose learning attention, because you are not in a well-balanced space where you're comfortable with the temperature, and you start getting problems aside of your energy bill. And having control of the temperature in the different spaces also will help to satisfy the people that are working with or that you are working with, because sometimes you have a difference on temperature perception by male and female. And sometimes it's the type of tasks that they are performing in this space that may need more or less of temperature control. So all this you need to take in consideration. Thermal comfort is something that we can also simulate today with softwares. We have many softwares that can do that. And here you can see how a variation on temperature can affect the person that is working. So if you start right there, you had at 0 degrees, you had 10 people working, and suddenly with the increase of the temperature, you also increase your loss of productivity. And just so you are aware, what you're seeing on the table, it's not the actual temperature, but it's the actual amount of degrees over the average temperature that this room should be reflecting. And here also we must say that the finishes that you choose to put into this project are very important for you to make sure that you are using rugs, that you're using carpet, or you're not using these items to create a thermal comfort. And not just rugs, you can use actually curtains to help you with the thermal control. And curtains are one of the items that you can use as window treatments. You can also create, depending on the region that you are, you can design some shade devices that will be very welcome in the hot summer of some regions. But first you should start with the cheaper solutions for this space, and then go into something that can affect systems and that can affect structurally your space. One thing that I always recommend my clients to use, and that I did not present to you here yet, is thermal control. And when you have a space that is shared by many people, it is important that they have a certain amount of individual control. Like perhaps you can separate the space by zoning, or you can separate by rooms. And if you do separate by rooms, each room should have its thermostat. Also for thermal control, you should have control of the direction of the sun and the amount of sun that you want to take in this building. So we know that in regions that are hotter, that you can avoid the sun, especially in the summertime, and in climates where you are dealing a lot with snow, low temperatures, and then you should be welcoming this sun during the winter time. But when we talk about the sun, we don't want you to mix with the other strategies that we are presenting here, because I believe that when you are looking at the orientation of your building, this is basic design. So you should be very aware of how you are working with the sun in favor of your thermal comfort. So to illustrate everything that I spoke about thermal comfort, here on your screen you see one of the studies that Ugreen performed for a client. So the red lines that you are seeing in these graphs, they are the temperature oscillation in a typical summer day and in a typical winter day. And this is for my location here in the south of Brazil, in Curitiba. And that blue ribbon that you see also across the chart is the comfort zone, the thermal comfort zone. That's where we should be. But you can see that in a typical summer day, which is the graph that it's in the top of the screen, that the red line goes, it starts at a nice level, but as the day starts progressing and the sun is getting hotter, this line actually stays for a great number of hours outside this comfort zone. And in the winter, you can see that this does not happen. We stay in a comfort zone for many more hours than we are out. And with the use of simulation, we have managed to create strategies and design strategies that helped us minimize this. And now we have a project that is completely inside the comfort zone completely. So was it simple to reach this solution? No, it wasn't. We had to work with the entire building envelope. We had to use shading devices. And these shaded devices, they are both vertical and horizontal, as you can see in this project. And with the many things that we adjusted in this project, we also got to earn more hours during the winter in the comfort zone. But that didn't affect it a whole lot, the project. So to me, thermal comfort is one of the biggest issues, and it needs to be treated by somebody that knows exactly what it's doing, knows how to work simulation, knows how to use the strategies very well, and put together a set of working strategies for each case. And you can be one of these specialists. You can keep studying thermal comfort. It's something that people are very much interested. It's something that we have worked a lot with our clients. So here we end the chapter about thermal health, and we go into your vision health. And how can we improve the health of your vision? We are going to show you here strategies that have to do with natural light and artificial lighting. Many architects do not pay attention on how the facade will work with the interior of the building. They usually are trying to convey something about the geometry or the looks, focusing on aesthetics when we have to focus not just on aesthetics, but also focus on how this facade will bring light, will bring ventilation, and will actually talk to the interior of this building. Here you have a study from natural lighting in a residential building. This study was actually published in an international magazine, and it was very good because, as you can see here, can you see here on screen? Yes. So as you can see, you have a very good light distribution on the plan, but you have a lot of glare. All that you see in yellow, it's glare. And all you see in the dark spots are areas that are not receiving a whole lot of lighting. And in this case here, he was following the LEED certification to where we like these parameters. They are very good parameters. And they ask that you have 300 lux all year round in each of these spaces, minimum. So anything above 300 lux, it's good, but you have a threshold, and that is 1,000 lux. If you have anything over 1,000 lux, then you are in bad shape. So here what you have in a dark shade is less than 300 lux, and everything that is in yellow, it's over 1,000 lux. So as you can see, we're in bad shape here on the before picture. So the before picture has a distribution of 84%, which is great. This is a good distribution. But as you can see, we already spoke about the glare, and 31% glare is a lot. We don't want that. So we use simulation to find the solutions, and we tested many different strategies inside this software so we could fix all this problem that we had. So we were able to maintain the 84% distribution, and we were able to lower the glare to 9%, which for the LEED certification, the threshold was 10%. So we were below this threshold and still maintaining the optimal distribution. So can you see how simulating your lighting can be very important for decision making? When you simulate, you're able to find cheaper or simpler solutions before you actually have to invest in something that is more expensive. You're able to test out all your strategies and you will not waste your money with it. So let's talk about artificial lighting now. As you can see, we are using the Dialux EVO software. And when it comes to artificial lighting, we need to evaluate the reflectance. And for the flooring, you have a minimum of 20%. On the walls, you would have 50%. And on the ceiling, you would have to have 80%. And on the ceiling, it's a little higher because you would have to get this lighting to be distributed in the entire space. So the ceiling will get more of this reflectance. And just so you have some basis here, still using as a parameter the LEED certification, in residential spaces you would want 300 lux. In commercial areas you would want 500 lux. And when it comes to residential and you're talking about the kitchen area, then you want more. You want 500 lux. So all this can be adjusted and played with in Dialux. So we like to use this software, and there are many different reasons why we like it. It's easy, it's user-friendly, and also it's free. So anyone can download it and use this, favoring the projects with good decisions. So to wrap it up here, simulation is the future. It's a great tool for decision making, for strategies. You're designing your spaces. You want to make sure that you are attending all the standards and that you are offering a space that will actually work for your client as professionals, and we should use. It's a very good tool for us to enhance our projects. The second item on my little list here for us to finish this chapter is to create spaces that feel cozy, with a dim light or with a yellow light, and spaces proper to develop tasks with a colder light and more intensity of light. So moving to item number 4, we're going to talk about hearing health. And hearing health, it's very important for you to be able to focus on something, for you to concentrate on a certain task. I think this is something that we can all relate to. When a place is very noisy, you're not able to absorb as much information as you need from a a source, or you cannot identify the source where you're getting your information from. Noise pollution is a big problem nowadays, especially in the big city centers. So it's something we have to address. So we create places where people can actually relax, people can actually concentrate. I'm sure many of you can relate to this right now if you are able to do any type of home office and you have kids like me, like Felipe. We both have 2 kids and they are very small kids, very energized kids, thank God. And we're not complaining about the kids, but we are complaining about the quality of time that we have to work now and things that we have to address with the background noise that is typical for parents. And in any other situation, I would be very happy that this is just a sign that they are healthy, that they like to play. But when you are facing with something that you need concentration, this happiness can become frustration. And this is not just me. This is in any situation where you are trying to concentrate and you're not able to concentrate. I just put this isolation situation because this is where we're living now. But think about it. In any situation where you have a lot of noise competing and you're trying to focus or you're trying to concentrate, you're trying to read something, you get frustrated. So a lot more than just the information is missed here. So we need to identify and eliminate the source of this discomfort, this sound discomfort. And one way to eliminate this is to pay attention to reverberation. And how does reverberation works? So the easiest way to explain this is to explain you by yourself in a very large space with no barriers, only 4 walls and you, and the sound will travel and it will hit a hard surface and will come back to you. So that's reverberation. And how do you avoid reverberation? Because you don't want, your voice to be doubling in the air. So how do you avoid reverberation? And that is using acoustic panels, using furniture, directing furniture, or these acoustic panels, so you can control the way the sound travels and you can control how much it is absorbed so it doesn't create that echo. In these acoustic panels, they should have like a minimum performance, and that would be the NRC of 0.7. That's the minimum we would recommend to have results. So this is something that I dealt with very much in the beginning of my career when I was working with Harvard Jolly, because as you know, we were designing school projects, auditoriums, libraries, and all these spaces where the teacher, whose voice it's its biggest asset, is trying to convey some kind of information, or the lecturer is trying to convey some type of information, and you have the students, and the students have their hearing as their biggest asset. That's where they are getting the information that the teacher is conveying. So these are 2 elements, 2 interactions with the hearing health and how it can affect your project. Very important that the teacher speaks and the student gets the right information. So the amount of acoustic panels that you should insert in a room, such as a classroom, is equal to the same square footage as the ceiling, and it needs to meet 0.7. Another item that can contribute to the control of reverberation is cushioned chairs. You know those chairs where you sit comfortably and they are cushioned? And they also have a coefficient number that can be inserted in your simulation in order to contribute to the results. And not just chairs and the cushions on the chairs, but tables and even people. There is a coefficient number that you can attach to the number of people inside of an environment. So the goal is to lower reverberation in any projects, and of course, especially in hospitals, schools, and perhaps in the creation of spaces where you and I can go in and meditate or concentrate in our tasks, anything to help. So each project will have a different approach and will also be working with different coefficients. So like I mentioned just a minute ago, for schools, this coefficient is 0.7. And each different space will have their own. And now we're moving to the external part of a building. My local authorities here in Brazil, they require that any building elements are tested in lab and also in the field. So you have a typical wall, and this wall needs to meet a certain isolation performance. And this goes to other building elements, such as windows, where you need to meet the minimum or the intermediate or the high level of performance. And then you need to calculate. You need to use these numbers that you have for the walls as an example. So you have this wall with level of performance, and then you decide if you want to insert a window in this wall so you can enhance air circulation and you can also promote better views. And then you put a window, and you need to know if you are maintaining the acoustical performance of this entire room, or if your window is jeopardizing the results here and you need to choose a different window. So this calculation is very important so you don't compromise the performance of the building elements when it comes to acoustic isolation. So for the most part, your hearing health that we have seen so far is talking about reverberation and is talking about isolating the external noise. So let's say you live right nearby an airport and you need to isolate that noise. How do you create barriers so this noise does not come in? Another noise that we are always listening to, and sometimes we don't notice how much it's irritating us or taking away from our concentration, is the AC noise. The vibration that the air creates in the piping and also when it's coming out in the exhaust. How much this noise can really break your concentration or irritate you, create like a sense of stress without you even know that this is the source of your problems. And again, I will mention my experience with schools. And in school, the noise that comes from the AC cannot go over 40 decibels. And each type of project will have its particular threshold. So talking about thresholds and standards, for this chapter, we have elected the ANSI 60. And since I'm talking about standards here, I don't know if I mentioned that for the thermal comfort, we are following ASHRAE 55. And in our simulations, we use PMV, which stands for Predicted Mean Vote. And this allows us to understand how people interact better with the spaces that are being created and how comfortable they feel in it. So we analyze the humidity, the velocity of the air circulation, and we use the radiant temperature, and we also use the dry bulb temperature. The type of simulation that we do takes in consideration the amount of clothing that the person should be wearing in those days where you have a peak of energy use, and also AC use. Being it for heating or for cooling, you need to analyze how the people are interacting with this. And here we are coming to the last strategy where we're going to talk about your posture and how this can also affect your health. And here we're talking about reanalyzing the environment you're already living in as an example and make all the necessary adjustments to make sure that you include the whole family in your house. So you need to measure every piece of furniture so you can adjust the heights. You can organize spreadsheets so you have control of information that you are gathering, and you can use this in your favor when you're trying to optimize these spaces. So you need to create a control of where you are aware of your users' necessities. But to be honest, here in Brazil and in the US that I know, we are already covered by the law. We already need to meet the law, and we need to work ergonomics into our spaces. So this has been debated extensively, and we're just going to go over real quick because it is important to know the flexibility of the furniture that you are installing. If you are taking in consideration the size of the people that are working or living in the spaces that you are creating, if you are aware that perhaps you have an old person living in this house and he needs to have corridors that will not hurt her or him, and also have space in between furnitures that allowed perhaps this old person to come in with her walker and keep going without any restrictions. So what do you get when you put together all these 5 strategies? And even though this may be simple strategies, a lot of people are not following these strategies. And when you put these 5 strategies together in one project, you will make a better life for yourself, for your clients, and for your family. So if you come across a project that involves learning, you will be able to improve the learning quality. And in any of these spaces that you create, if you follow these instructions and these strategies, you will be able to improve the sleep quality of the users. You will also be able to reduce the stress in the families because people that are operating in a better environment, their well-being is also promoted and they are less stressful to be around. You will be able to enhance your humor and also your well-being. You will be able to reduce your chances of catching or developing a disease. And trust me, everything that we have presented here, you can do it yourself. You may need some help simulating if you never did it before, but that's about it. Everything else, you will be able to analyze your project and go back to it and realize that are some basic stuff that you could be inserting and make it more sustainable. So answer in your mind honestly, if you were to do this yourself, if you decided to start studying now and start learning all the strategies and start reading all the standards and starting to apply test and error, how much time would you use? And I'm willing to bet here that you will be able to sit through this for at least a couple of years. You will need that. You will need that time so you can make sure that you cover it all, that you tested it all, and that you discard the ones that do not work for you. And like I said, this can be time consuming, and when you're consuming time, you're also consuming your money. So it can be very expensive when it comes to start this from ground zero and not following this shortcut that we are offering you right here. And when I talk about shortcut, I'm not talking about jumping stages here. You will be learning the important stuff in the right order, We will present to you what comes before, what comes after, so you don't waste your time trying to figuring this out. We're gonna lay it out to you, everything that you need to do step by step, so you can actually put this into practice as soon as possible. These are already all the standards, everything that we have already applied to our careers and that we're going to be able to bring it to you in a reduced amount of time. So if you're interested in this shortcut, then you want to come with us and join us with our course, Sustainable Interior Designing. And our main idea when we created this course was to bring health and well-being into the spaces, and for the users that are enjoying these spaces. So we went after the most updated standards and the most updated techniques, using as basis certifications, green certifications like LEED, WELL, and also standards such as ASHRAE 55, ANSI 60, ASHRAE 90, and we compiled everything for you here in this course. We gave absolutely our best in order to bring to you in an easy way to absorb all this kind of information in ways that you can pick up this information and apply to your real life. You will have a clear set of strategies. You will have spreadsheets that you can use as your tools to guide you, because our goal is that you come out of this course and you can really design a healthy project, a sustainable project, and you can bring this to your clients. And Sustainable Interior is a training that will present step-by-step process for you to create this high-performance interior design project. And you will obtain more recognition, growth, and income into your office. You will learn strategies to carry out healthier projects that will also be more economical and productive. You will create a showcase for more indications to more and more projects. In this course, we will bring sustainable strategies that will add great value to your projects and will create new services in your company perhaps. And because of these new possibilities, we will also give you lessons to improve your positioning in the market and present your service with superior results. So that way you'll be able to stand out and don't blend in with the crowd. And one thing I promise you guys will get is the way that Felipe works. He is always creating strategies to improve our productivity in our office and also to make our lives easier. So, of course, this wouldn't be missing when we are trying to teach strategies. We're also trying to teach you how to make this the easiest way and create processes so you will be able to apply this in an organized manner and you will become very efficient in applying this. And once you get this into your DNA, you will be able to have a highly influential office and you will be using world-class techniques, so this recognition can come from anywhere in the world. So here's your training guide. In Module 1, you will find behind the scenes of a sustainable interior design project. You will understand exactly what makes a project sustainable. You will understand what changes behind the scene in your firm and how you can make this visible in your practice, and also how to best use the material that we're going to present to you during the other modules. On Module 2, we're going to go ahead and talk about natural and artificial lighting. And this is something that you want to decide early on so you can position your openings, you can enhance the natural lighting into the spaces, and all this needs to be simulated. And so it's very good that you have this first. You get this out of the way and you start using these strategies. On Module 3, we will talk about thermal comfort, and all the strategies that you can make this a comfortable space for the user. One thing it's good to notice is that we will talk about hot climate and we will talk about very cold climate too. So I know we are in Brazil, but this course is very complete in the sense that we are aware that we may be talking with people that are right now in regions with a lot of snow, or we may be talking to people that are sitting across from the ocean and a beach side. We don't know. So we will make sure that we will address both situations in a thermal comfort module. Then comes module number 4, where we will talk about the water, reducing water consumption. And you may think that perhaps reducing water consumption, it's nothing related to health. But the water crisis is something very much related to health. And even though it's nothing that you will get immediate results, it's something that we are creating for the future. So reducing our water use is critical to the future of our water and the purity of our water. So it does have to do with our health. Module number 5 will talk about sustainable materials, how to recognize sustainable materials when you don't have a label or you don't have a test that you can look at. So we want to make sure that the biggest amount of people get in contact and learn how to recognize and use sustainable materials. And to your health directly, these sustainable materials have to do with VOCs that may be expelling into the air and contaminating the air you're breathing. Also, it has to do with proper extraction. We know that in the world, the materials may be extracted by people in slavery-like situations. And we don't want to bring any material that has been extracted this way into a place that it's supposed to mean health. So yeah, we will cover all the bases that you will have a sustainable and safe material to bring into your project. Module 6 will talk about acoustics. We will be visiting all the acoustical phenomena that can occur in a space. So after seeing each one of them, you will learn how to work with them. On Module 7, we will talk about air quality. And nothing more appropriate than to talk about air quality and how to maintain this air quality and to maintain this air not polluted and transmitting. Definitely something we've been talking about a lot lately. But anyways, Module 8 will talk about energy efficiency. And yes, that's a lot that you can do in your interior space. Energy efficiency is not just for whole buildings. We can talk about saving energy in an interior design project. And Module 8 is just that. Module 9, we will talk about movement, mind, and community. And when we talk about movement, it's how people will navigate through your project, how the spaces can interconnect, and what makes a difference and what not when it comes to your health. You also will talk about mind. And that is about how your psychological respond to the things that you are creating inside this space. This has to do with your psychological health. Very important module. And then we're going to talk about community. And community is not the community outside your project. It's much more the community that becomes inside your project. It's how family relate to each other inside this project. Yes, the built environment can create hardships for a relationship. It also, let's say you're designing for an office and how the people in this office is relating and is using these spaces and the sense of community becomes into this space. So yes, community has to do with interior design a lot, and it's very intimate into this kind of project. The entire course has 42 videos. Each of the modules that I just presented to you have a workbook. And once you start this module, you can go ahead and download this workbook so you can start using as the classes progresses. And these guides you can take with you not just to the classes, but to your office. You will be able to use these workbooks as guides, and you can leave it in your office and you can always go back to it and look for different strategies, perhaps something that can complement your project at that time. You also have a support system where you can send your questions 24/7 and we will be answering within 24 to 48 hours. Your access to this material is unlimited. Your training is 100% online and you can watch anytime you want. With this course, basically, you will be able to transform the way your company works. You will be able to offer high performance projects, performances that can affect positively the people and the society and the environment. And you will increase the scope and the number of projects that you will be acting on because you will differentiate from the rest of the crowd. Your company will win customers that will pay more for the services that you are willing to offer because people pay for value. And when you bring health and well-being to their life, this is value that they cannot put a number to it. So you will be able to put a number for them and they will recognize this value. This course has changed the lives of many architects here in Brazil. One of them is Marina and Isaac. These guys, they are doing such a great job in Rio. They have changed their practice. They have changed the direction of their office, and now they are being invited to many places where they can expose their work, where they are creating projects that are focused in sustainability and health, and they are being recognized for it. And they are so strong with it. They are actually putting courses together to their local community. And it's great because that's what we want. We want to multiply this kind of knowledge. And we have more. We have Marcella Green that is working in Brasilia, which is our federal district. She's also doing a great job. She's one of those girls that she took the course and the next day she was applying. A few days later, she was reporting how successful this has been for her. And have here some bonuses too that we will throw in with this course. And the first bonuses comes from the interior designer, Flavia Close. Flavia Close, she has put together a mind map. And this mind map will show you exactly where each of these strategies that we are teaching will fit into a project chronogram. So the project timeline is depicted here, and you will be able to see clearly where to insert each one of these strategies that we're teaching. The second bonus is some extra classes that we have recorded and put together for you. One of them is about the integrative process. Integrative process is a way to work with your team in an integrated form, how to bring your team together into the same mindset, and you will be able to manage them very well. And if you haven't worked with the integrative process, I'm telling you, after you see this, you will